I will divide my presentation today in three parts. In the first part, I will talk about Haiti today. Where are we? In the second part, I will address the reasons why there is a political stalemate. And last but not least, in the third part, I will go over the main challenges facing Haiti and the international community and the best way forward. What's going on today in Haiti? Haiti is simply facing the worst crisis of its existence. A multifaceted crisis to an extent that we have never had before. An institutional, legal, constitutional crisis, but also a social, economic, and political crisis. And on top of that, Haiti is certainly facing a terrible humanitarian and security crisis. My dear friends, Haiti's crisis is a total one. Total because Haiti today is a textbook case of a failed state. As we speak, there's not one elected official in Haiti. Not an elected president, not an elected mayor, not an elected congressman, not an elected senator. The economy is in limbo. Businesses are closing their doors. Inflation is at a record high. So is unemployment. All signals are red. Red as the color of blood. As the situation in Haiti is an awful bloody mess, with brutal gangs controlling the capital and reigning with terror. With impunity, they kill, kidnap, extort, and rob. The police are passive and often outgunned. The judicial system is weak. In the past 5 years, and I'm saying 5 years, Haiti has descended into a state of political, economic, and security collapse. Of course, there are some structural and historical reasons for Haiti's descent into chaos. But for the purpose of today's meeting, in an academic setting, I will solely address the short-term reasons. Former President Jovenel Moïse was murdered in 2021. His brutal and unacceptable murder gave place to a constitutional mess as there were no legal provisions to fill the vacuum. A little flashback could help us to better understand. At the time, there was an interim prime minister in charge. There was an appointed prime minister by the president. Neither of these two prime ministers had been ratified by parliament. And the president himself, who appointed them, had also a legitimacy issue since his term was considered to be over when he appointed them. Eventually, with the support of the international community, Dr. Herald was sworn in as Prime Minister. Mostly and only on the merit of Article 149 of the Constitution, which gives a Prime Minister a short-term window of 90 to 120 days to govern and organize elections. The problem is that today it's been more than 850 days. And unfortunately, the embattled Prime Minister has not been able to fulfill the main two objectives of the transition: restoring security and organizing elections. It has been 850 days since the Prime Minister has been unable to broker a largely consensual political agreement that would legitimize his government and validate a roadmap towards elections. So far, the only political agreement brokered by Herald is insufficient. It's not enough. He has to do better, and he knows it. It has been signed by a few political parties and the private sector. And while the Prime Minister has fallen short of reaching an acceptable political compromise, for the past 2 years, security and the economy in Haiti have continued to deteriorate sharply, and Haiti is slowly slowly and slowly dying. It is within this context that on October 2nd, 2023, the United Nations Security Council voted to authorize a multinational security mission to Haiti. Of course, upon the request of the Haitian government. Kenya has proposed to lead the force and send 1,000 police officers, while additional personnel have been offered by other countries, including Antigua, Bahamas, and Jamaica. The operation will aim at supporting the Haitian police in their fight against the gangs that control Haiti's capital and foster necessary security conditions for long-term stability. However, my friends, although the security component of a mission to Haiti has been vastly talked about, the international community understands the importance of a political agreement between Haitian stakeholders and would not want any operation of a military nature happen without a larger consensus between Haitian actors, and that includes actors in civil society. So far, there has not been an agreement, there has not been an accord, and there is a real political stalemate. My friends, in a few words, this is how we have to understand Haiti today. Now that I have shared with you what the situation is in Haiti today and how we got there, let me get to the second part of my presentation. What's the cause of that political stalemate? Most of you here are either Haitians or Americans interested in Haiti or Americans of Haitian ascendancy, and all of you, for 2 years, have listened to the radio, and not one day there was not a talk about discussions between Haitian political stakeholders. But it's been 2 years and nothing has happened. Why? One would say, Haiti is going down the drain, it's a descent to hell. What's holding the process? What's the dynamic on the table? Why is it that Haitian deciders cannot put Haiti first and try to get a solution? Well, personally, I have been a witness and an actor of these discussions. Long and frustrating discussions to find a breakthrough to the political impasse. I have seen the parties around the table, I have talked to them, I have friends in all parties, but I've seen them radicalize themselves month after month. Those supporting the government and those opposing the government. In fact, my friends, I have seen 3 tendencies emerge from these very difficult negotiations. The first tendency is the one put forward by the political allies of Ariana's government. They support the status quo and stand by the application of the 21st of December Accord, begrudgingly allowing only for minor changes to be made. They're acting as if the ship wasn't sinking, and they're building their war chest. Comfortably installed in the ministries that they control, either directly or indirectly, these political forces shamelessly call on other parties to join them in governing the country while turning a blind eye to their blatant incompetence and abject failure. This radical posture, my friends, is a major obstacle to reach a serious compromise. And that's one of the reasons why we have a political stalemate in Haiti. The second tendency is the one put forward by some opposition parties that are calling for the immediate resignation of Ariel Henry, that they simplistically consider to be the only obstacle to the solution to the crisis. This limited vision fails to take into account the balance of power, of the inevitable difficulties of agreeing on a new governance, and a roadmap of challenging achievables. The reality is much more complicated, as these parties are fundamentally different in terms of values, ideologies, and visions, and they have their own rigid conviction of what to do once the Prime Minister steps down. It's a very difficult situation where nothing is black or white, and there are a lot of gray nuances. But such a radical posture, opposed to the ones supporting Ariel Henry, is also only helping to prolong the Ariel Henry experience. And it's a major obstacle to reach a serious compromise. In fact, in a non-concerted coalition, you could say that these two forces that are opposed are simply playing the game of Ariel Henry and making it easy for him to stay longer and longer in a transition that has lasted already too long. Between these two inflexible and antagonistic tendencies, it has been a dialogue of death, a zero-sum game. And so far, my friends, we are at a standstill because the political discourse on the discussion table has been hijacked by the parties who are not willing to let an inch go on their position. I personally lean towards a third tendency, one that I consider to be more pragmatic, more realistic, and I would say more nationalist. Nationalism being a strong sentiment for one's country. Somewhere in between these two hardline positions, we should be able to find a reasonable compromise that puts Haiti first. I think we badly need a balanced government that inspires trust to the political parties that will compete in next elections. What is a transition about? It's about those governing to inspire trust to society and the actors who are going actually to compete in elections. We cannot have a government formed of ministries controlled by political parties that are going to use the means of the states for a non-level playing field in next elections. This government right now, as it is structured, is controlled, managed, and governed by the Prime Minister's allies. It cannot inspire trust and confidence. We need a balanced government to restore trust. That's the first objective to follow. That's where we should reach. That's where we have to go to start with. I favor a governance formula inspired by the spirit of the Constitution, because we have left the Constitution since January 2020. I'm always very amused when the press is asking me a question, what do you think about Maria Isabel Salvador's statement that there cannot be a transition within the transition? Well, there has been a transition since January 2020 when Jovenel Moïse then decided not to organize elections, not to renew the parliament. We left the constitutional track. The only way for us to get back to constitutional order is to have elections when elections are held, so that we have legitimate people elected, so we can carry the reforms we need to change Haiti and make things better. I do favor, on one hand, a high council vested with presidential powers, and on the other hand, a national unity government led by the prime minister, this one or another, in form of impartial and credible personalities. To me, persons are not yet important. It's the principle of what we want. And what we want is an impartial and balanced, impartial, balanced governance in order to inspire trust and find a way to restore security and agree on a roadmap to restore security, to appoint an electoral council that is also impartial, to have an electoral law that can bring historic provisions, one of them being the possibility of you in that room to vote in the next elections, like it is a reality for more than 100 countries with important diasporas. My friends, the added value of such an option is that it aims to restore the checks and balances that are fundamental to democratic governance and vital for a legitimate transitional government capable of restoring trust and holding uncontested elections. It has the merit of ending the reign of an omnipotent prime minister accountable only to himself and who combines more power than any previous elected president as head of state, head of government, and Minister of Interior. This option that I'm favoring, that I'm pushing, is a good one, as it rejects the status quo and can put an end to the current experience of an all-powerful prime minister who decides alone. Ultimately, Haiti needs security to be restored, of course, elections when it's possible, but a major economic recovery plan. Too often we talk about politics in Haiti, while the problem is economic. 3 Haitians out of 4 do not have a job, and 7 Haitians out of 10 leave their home in the morning not knowing if they're going to earn enough to eat themselves and bring a plate of food to their children. These, my friends, are what I consider to be the main elements that trigger a political stalemate in Haiti. Let me get to the final and third part of my intervention. It's about the challenges ahead and the best way forward. From the get-go, I would like to say that the 3 main challenges ahead are, of course, to restore security, that's the security front, broker a political agreement, that's the political front, and tackle the humanitarian and economic debacle, that is the economic front. On the political front, what do? There's nothing else to do than to keep pushing for a political compromise. We need the largest roundtable possible in Haiti and keep trying to find a reasonable compromise. Given the track record of solutions rushed through by international actors in recent history, it is worthwhile to get it right this time. Ariel Henry's unconstitutional transitional government needs to be granted a mandate from Haiti's political and civil society forces to claim the legitimacy that it lacks. Of course, any responsible leader knows that there cannot be a durable security solution if we don't have that political solution, that compromise. It's impossible. And given repeated efforts from CARICOM and other entities that includes intermediate, how do we go from there while there is a total stalemate? My position is now that the moral forces of Haiti have to step up to the plate. I have read a note from the Catholic Church of Bishop Pierre Dumas. That not only engages him as a bishop, but it was a good note, appealing to Haiti's elites, social, political, economic, to get together and try to push for a breakthrough. I think the Catholic Church has to step up to the plate and should not leave it to Monsieur Dumas to be the only one talking about what has to be done. And I think they can join forces with other moral forces. And why not the eminent persons of CARICOM who are trying to mediate and facilitate the discussion between the political stakeholders for a political conference that would give us a last chance to find a breakthrough. On the security front, now that we are done with the political front, we need to find the right remedy to combat gangs and restore peace and normalcy in Haiti. The reality is that Haiti will certainly have a very difficult time to go it alone. But now what's more important is to determine how the international community can best assist the national police to restore law and order. We are not talking here about an occupation or an invasion or anything of that sort. It would be foolish to even refer to what's needed as these operations. We are talking about a high-level cooperation between Haiti and its international partners in order to save the Haitian people from the grip of gangs, in order to save a nation that is drawing. That's what it's all about, period. However, missing at the table, where the security plan for Haiti is prepared, is our civil society and important local players. Their input is important because Haitians concerned at first hand need to appropriate the security plan for Haiti, both short and long term. Such involvement will ensure the success of a security plan for Haiti. For the mission to be an opportunity for Haiti, Haitians have to be engaged and involved, which has not always been the case in past missions. Regarding the Kenyan force to be deployed in Haiti, there are three currents of thoughts in Haiti. The first current is that Haiti quickly, urgently, massively needs an international assistance ASAP. And 1,000 troops is not enough. In 2004, there were 20,000. Anything short of a robust support to the Haitian National Police to tackle insecurity could be considered as an act of betrayal to the Haitian people who are currently on the precipice of civil war, which will result in unspeakable atrocities and intolerable number of deaths. From the international community, if they were to look away, they would be one day accused of non-assistance to people in danger. That's a first current of thought. There is a second current of thought, which is a more skeptical one. In good faith, many people are against all forms of foreign intervention in Haiti on the pretext that past ones have not worked. We must say that the results of UN missions for the past 15 years at a cost of $10 billion on the field of security and justice can render anyone perplexed. there is an argument valid enough to be made here. That's why I'm saying in good faith. In fact, skepticism of this current of thoughts is often fueled also by the question about the level of preparedness of the mission and the lack of visibility in terms on the terms of reference. And sometimes you don't have to be very good in mathematics, but when there are numbers being thrown around, like $400 or $600 million, some people are saying, well, maybe if the police had this kind of money, maybe they would be able to do a better job than they're doing right now. So, the second current of thought is real among the Haitian people and here in the diaspora. There is a third one. Many people who understand that there needs to be some sort of an international assistance to Haiti that cannot go it alone, think that without a political solution, any support to the Haitian police would be a support to the Haitian government. And that is not well perceived by many people in Haiti and in the diaspora. Our view is that as long as a security mission in Haiti works hand in hand with Haitian authorities, by that I mean authorities issued from a political compromise, as long as the interests of Haiti are being respected, as long as Haiti is always first on the table of discussion, as long as the ultimate goal is to restore security to a nation where we all now live like rats. We live in holes, and we get out of these holes just to try to get a slice of cheese wherever we can, and quickly go back to the hole. I understand that for many of you who live here in Florida, the image might be a little strange, maybe excessive, but I'm telling you, that's the reality. If your child leaves home, until he or she comes back, you don't know if he or she is coming back. When you ride in the streets of Port-au-Prince, every motorcycle driving by you is a problem. You see in your compatriots, your brothers and sisters, someone who might want to harm you, just because you know that out there you are so vulnerable. Just because out there you are vulnerable. Just because when you leave your house in Haiti, you have one chance out of 3 not to return safely. You can die or you can be kidnapped. This is what we're living in Haiti. And at the end of the day, besides the numbers, besides the discussions, political compromise, first tendency, second tendency, the radicals on the table on both sides, at the end of the day, what matters is that we are suffering as a people and we need to find a solution to restore security in Haiti. Period. On the economic front, my friends, there is also an urgent need to support Haiti. The country needs immediate humanitarian relief, but most importantly, a major economic recovery plan. Some would even suggest a Marshall Plan for Haiti. The economic picture is grim, restoring security is important, but creating the kind of environment conducive to economic investment and massive job creations is even more important. I will stop there because I do believe that in this format of activities, the discussions and the debate are much more enjoyable much better than having to listen to someone who has obviously been talking too much this afternoon. Thank you very much for your attention. Looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. George, I know you have our deadline at 5:30, so if you could provide us with some of your comments, they'd be grateful to receive.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Perreira. Thank you, Tony, for this opportunity to join FIU. And it's really timely conversations with Jerry Tardieu. Timely not only because of who Jerry Tardieu is, but timely in terms of the, I think, more public discussion and hopefully debate about responding in an effective way to Haiti's ongoing crisis. As noted at the beginning of the program in the introductions, Mr. Tardieu has been engaged in his country's public space, politics, and economics notably, and for quite a while, but also in some ways, as we just heard, I think is one of those rare cases where he also anchors thinking in practical, timely, substantive terms of reference. In other words, that there is substance to what he has to say, and he does so in a kind of a practical way to generate a discussion, a constructive discussion about key issues and hopefully leading up to resolutions. The talk he just provided confirms, I think, a lot of these characteristics, and there's certainly a lot to talk about, so let me just pick a few ideas here based on his presentation. Certainly Mr. Tardieu's synthesizing of what is Haiti's dismal landscape, analyzing in very conceptual terms, actually, the complex causes of the ongoing political stalemate, without getting lost in some of the technical, constitutional, historical debates points, and concluding with what he terms the three main challenges moving forward out of the crisis, but also, in effect, I think in doing so, hinting at, maybe more than hinting, at the sequencing of some of those three challenges in terms of what needs to be addressed first in order to be able to move forward out of the crisis. And in fact, this alludes to the need to develop a political consensus without which not much ultimately constructive can really happen. Mr. Tardieu certainly does not mince his words in all of this, particularly in his assessment of Haiti today. Rather colorful language. Haiti's crisis is a total one. I think that's accurate. The situation in Haiti is a bloody mess. Kind of synthesizes in two words in some ways. It also characterizes a little bit the depth of the human crisis that the country faces today. And later in his talk, towards the end, with this rather jarring imagery of Haitians as rats coming out of the holes to try to find a piece of cheese somewhere. I think this is more than just a caricature. This is, I think, suggests, in his mind, and should suggest to anyone listening to him, that this is really a serious and fundamentally a fundamental problem for the country's survivability. Despite all of its creative resources, very creative and energetic civil society, a diverse political community, although one that doesn't seem to be able to generate a political consensus out of the current crisis. When his analysis turns towards the causes of the ongoing stalemate, Mr. Tardieu carefully distinguishes with what I agree are essentially three strands of ongoing thinking, which explain the political stalemate. The status quo, most closely associated with the current interim government of Mr. Fauriol, interim prime minister. A second strand or tendency, which I would characterize basically as the hardliners, and I assume that Mr. Tardieu here is referring in part to the Montana, the people behind the Montana Accord and others associated with that constituency, whose operating, negotiating position entails, first and foremost, the dismissal of the interim prime minister as kind of the initial negotiating position. That obviously hasn't been very successful over the last 2 years as a negotiating position. There's a third strand, the tendency that Mr. Tardieu associates himself with and is characterized as trying to find and being able to find a more reasonable compromise towards what he describes as a balanced government, one that is sort of balanced between what is a high council or high transition council with presidential or executive authority, as well as a sort of national or consensus government that could be led or would be led by the prime minister. The question, which I think maybe needs to be clarified, is where does the interim prime minister fit into this particular picture? My sense, I think what he's alluding to is that the interim prime minister is there at the beginning of this process and sort of elegantly fades out, particularly as we get closer to an electoral calendar. The part that I want to try to focus on maybe more narrowly in these few minutes is I think the skepticism that I detected in this presentation to what appear to be sort of international mediation efforts. It appears to be skeptical about the possible outcome, positive outcome of CARICOM's eminent persons group mediation efforts. They have recently issued what amounts to a roadmap of a transitional governance, which appears to overlap to some degree, I think, with Mr. Tardieu's notion of a balanced governance situation. So I think the recommendation to have the Episcopal Conference of the Catholic Church more engaged in this process is this sort of a combination, if you will, with ongoing international CARICOM-led mediation efforts, or is this in effect an effort that parallels or duplicates or replaces the ongoing eminence persons group from CARICOM? Or is this in effect, which is maybe what he's alluding to, plan B if everything else fails? I think that needs to be clarified. From my perspective, I'm not entirely convinced yet that the CARICOM effort has failed. But Mr. Tardieu, being closer to the scene, his insight certainly is valuable in this regard. Finally, a comment on the main challenges ahead, where he concludes his talk, places a lot of effort, for the need, if you will, to broker a political consensus agreement as a precursor, in effect, to addressing the security situation. I think this is an important issue, is what comes first. You could potentially argue that they need to be simultaneous, but in effect, as a practical matter, this becomes an operational question of significance in connection with the possible deployment of an international security force, at this point led by Kenyan deployment sometime in early 2024, if there are no other political and logistical delays, including political delays in Kenya itself. And as a practical problem, whether it's the Kenyans and others, the deployment of an international security response is going to depend, very much dependent, on a reliable and politically sustainable Haitian governmental partner, one that is based on the Haitian political consensus, and as a practical matter, and we just heard Mr. Tardieu describe that in some detail, this consensus clearly does not exist now. But this is a key issue, and if I'm going to be playing, if you will, from the perspective of the international actor here, including the Kenyans, this becomes an important question as to whether they are willing to be engaged in an environment where they're not entirely sure how reliable, how sustainable, how politically strong their Haitian governmental partner really is at this point. There's a lot really in this presentation, but I thought those would be the kind of the major issue which I would want to focus on. There's another panelist who I think has a maybe a set of other perspectives, but let me stop here in terms of this very, I think, important presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, George. Frandley?
I try to be brief. I know we're running out of time. I remember in 1986, I think I was 10, when Julien left. And what did we have in terms of the political class? Leslie Maniga, Hubert de Ronstey, Marc Bazin, Winnie Theodore. And as a young, I was 10, and I was so proud because the first election, they had their platform published in Creole and French, and you had political debate, and we thought that this country was going to take off, right? And today I'm listening to you, Jerry, and I said to myself, we have very few people in politics today who can offer something substantial in terms of idea. We may disagree on certain points, but today Haiti is at its lowest at all levels. And that allows me, I remember that you made the point about those who are opposed to the Kenyan nation. This is something that I struggle with as a patriot. But this morning again, I had a conversation with one of the most respected former police chief in Haiti. For those who don't know, Haiti does not have municipal police like here. We have a national police. And I spoke with the guy. I said, man, I'm going to go to this presentation and I want to have your insight. I have one question for you. Do you think we can get out of this alone, on our own? And the answer was no. And this was not the first time that I had such conversation with someone whose judgment I would trust on the subject. So when people tell me that we heard about the $200 million that will be going to the Kenyan mission, this money should have gone to the national police, I call fallacy. It's a fallacy, and I'm going to tell you why. In July of 2021, Jovenel Moïse, the president of the country, was assassinated in his bedroom. Anybody, any president, I think any president can be assassinated, but the guy was assassinated in his bedroom. Among his security detail, not one was injured. Can you imagine that a president is assassinated in his bedroom and no one among his security detail is injured? No amount of money would have saved Jovenel Moïse. The crisis is deeper than money. Within the police, you have a group, until recently they were pretty active, called Phantom 509. And this is a group that was again within the police, and they would hit the ground and they would get into public buildings, they start disturbing everything. Until today, I think they're still around. Nothing happened to them. Several people who've been kidnapped in Haiti will tell you that they were kidnapped by police officers. Okay? So I think we need to be very careful resorting to such fallacies when we talk about Haiti. The crisis is not a question of money, it is way deeper than that. Now, I would like to make a few comments on the situation in general. It's one of, and you'll see how my comments dovetail with what you just said, Jerry. The situation in Haiti is one of helplessness. When you talk to people on the ground, they tell you, at this point, I'm willing to try anything. because what we have here today cannot continue. And this is where I get to your three positions. You have people of good faith in Haiti, you say, no. We've seen occupation, we've seen military intervention, foreign intervention before. They did not solve the problem. No, we don't want it. You have those who say, you know what? Absolutely, we want it yet, like yesterday. And you have a third group that is cautiously optimistic. And this is where I find myself. And I see the strength of foreign intervention in Haiti. We know the results. They did not lead to anything serious in Haiti. No impact, no real impact. We're still dealing with what we're dealing today. But I said to myself, are we so dumb as a nation so as to be unable to draw the necessary lessons from the past so that we can build something better this time around, starting with the premise that we already know that we cannot get out on our own? I think this is the question the diaspora need to answer, to provide an answer to. Are we so dumb as a nation that we cannot grasp the lessons of the past so that to make this one better? Now, I have a question for you. This is a question. Ariel was there. We had a panel with Sebastien Carrier when he was Canada's ambassador to Haiti, came to the United States, and I asked him this question. It's going to be an unfair question, I warn you.
There's no unfair questions.
If Ariel Henry were to die tomorrow morning, what will happen to Haiti?
Okay. How do
Go ahead and respond to anything, George.
Oh, okay. All right. So I will be very careful in my answers, so that the headline tomorrow is that Jerry Tardieu sees Ariel Henry dead in the next 5 days. So, because I have to go back down there. You're going back to Kendall. I mean, I'm going to shock a few people by saying what I'm going to say. He better not die.
Amen.
And even for the people who hate him the most, Haiti today is a constitutional desert. There is no legal provision to fill the presidential vacuum in Haiti. We have no other option than to find a round table and decide together how we're going to exit this mess. And it will take for some people to do some sacrifice. I'm not totally at ease with the option that will help us to solve the crisis. But at this point, we need to put Haiti first. It will never be a win-win situation. So therefore, your question allows me the possibility to highlight once again the fact that Haiti has derailed from the constitutional track, and there is no legal provision to fill a vacuum at the executive level of Haiti. So a vacuum on top of another vacuum is going to create a bigger vacuum. And what's at stake right now, Frandley, just like in any transition in Haiti, is a power grab. We're talking about political actors that are trying to position themselves to win next elections. So it's a power grab, and everybody is trying to position themselves. Most of the political parties supporting the Prime Minister currently, they are happy with the way things are going. They are building their watches, and they have the means of the states to compete against me, a political leader, or my candidates at any level who do not have access to the means of the states. So this is why political actors need a level playing field to go in next elections, so that a balanced executive needs to inspire trust so that we can move forward. So thank you very much for your question. I don't know if you're satisfied with the answer.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I have another question.
Mhm.